Yes, we are. Yes, we are. Okay. Facebook people, I hope you can hear me a little bit better than I did the previous week. And last week we had a bit of a snafu in regards to me trying to broadcast. So I put the completed video on the feed. So hopefully you were able to watch that. And yes, I'm doing two screens today. I want to thank you very much for joining me today. My name is Deanna. I'm PeachyPathfinder, and this is my channel, Regard. And we are doing our Sunday Live. Normally we do them at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time on Sundays. And for those of you who are new, thank you for joining. And those of you who are due to come back every single week, checking in, I really appreciate your support. I did announce last week that I am on TikTok. That is growing, so I am thankful for that. And I also have some new announcements. We're in a new month now, which means we're going to have a total of 5 Sunday Lives. And also I wanted to let you know too, in the event that a live has to be canceled or moved, please check my community posts. Always check my community posts for updates in regards to the channel, and that would be on my YouTube page. I'm always posting things there, but in the event that we can't do a live at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time on Sunday, the alternate time will be 8 p.m. or 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And I will let you guys know way in advance when that's going to be done. Okay? So I thank you again for joining me today. And I also created a playlist of my lives on my YouTube channel as well. For those of you who like to binge watch like I do, feel free to do so as we grow. I mentioned last week that first and foremost, because I'm sure you guys want to know about this, I mentioned last week that I was tossing around an idea of a gift card giveaway, and I asked you guys to either comment, email, or vote in regards to whether or not I should do a $100 giveaway per month of the Visa gift card or do a $500 giveaway every 90 days. And so far it looks like there are a lot of votes for the monthly gift card, and that makes sense. I understand that because we're in a holiday season now, and it would probably come in more handy, and then that way it'll be a little less confusion. So I'm going to go ahead and just end the idea of the votes right now and just work with what I have. I had a chance to meditate and pray over it, and Spirit told me to lean more towards what people are saying, is to do the monthly gift card per month. And the way it's going to work is it's going to start on the 15th of the month and it's going to end on the 14th of the following month. And I have already created a video that's going to outline the eligibility, the terms and conditions. That's going to broadcast on the live for September 15th, which is the first day of the first giveaway. So the first giveaway is going to be from September 15th to October 14th, and you guys are going to want one of these. You're going to want one of these. You're going to want one of these. So, of course, it's not cash money, but it's going to be on a Visa gift card. So you're going to want one of these for the holidays. I'm sure you could use it. And it's just my way of giving back to you guys for your support. I'm not the type of creator that's just going to take for granted the fact that you chose to view me, because, you know, I'm not anybody that's famous in the public eye as far as the world is concerned. I'm just a woman who's gone through some things and decided to share her thoughts. And I am just overwhelmed by the fact that you guys are following me and that the channel is growing. And I appreciate that. So I figure as a measure of good faith, I'll go ahead and just get back to you guys. So just in a nutshell, and the details will be in the video that's posted on the 15th, $100 Visa gift card giveaway per month, starting on the 15th, ending on the 14th of the following month. The winner will be announced in a special live on the 15th, the very next day. And the way it's going to work is going to be trivia based, okay? I'm going to present a question, you answer it, and all the people with the correct answers will be placed into a raffle, and the raffle will be drawn live, on that live. And, some of the details will be in the video that I post on the 15th of September. So that video is going to come out right before the live starts. So keep an eye out for it. It's already prepared and it's in the queue. So if anybody have any questions or concerns, please feel free to contact me. My email, I have two emails. One of them is PeachyPathfinder@gmail.com. And for you Yahoo users, you can also contact me via regert at myyahoo.com. That's regert@myyahoo.com. And I'll be glad to answer any questions that you have. And that's basically it on that, because I'm not going to talk the whole time about that. But yeah, the contest is going to start in a couple of weeks because I have to finalize a couple of things and get things started. But that's the way that's going to work out. Okay, so hopefully, you guys are been watching the videos. Be prepared to get your pen and paper and take some notes. And the way it's going to work is I will present the question, and since this month's giveaway, I'm sorry, help me Spirit. Since this month's giveaway is going to be on a live, I'm going to go ahead and present the question during the live. And I'm also going to post it in my community posts as well. So those are two ways that you can find out what the trivia question is going to be. I'm going to state it in my live. I'll also place it in my description of this live on the 15th. And I will also post it in the community post. If in the event that the question is not going to be on, presented during a scheduled live, that is, what I'll do is I'll just do a quick short maybe, or maybe just post it in my community post. I haven't decided how I'm going to do that yet, but just keep that in mind, that it will be a trivia question. And of course, you guys know the rules. For those of you, if it's a trivia question, email me the answers, email only, and anyone who places any answers in the descriptions of any of my videos for public viewing will be immediately disqualified. But again, in a nutshell, $100 Visa gift card giveaway to a lucky person. Contest runs from the 15th of the month to the 14th of the following month. Trivia question will be the entry. Correct answer to the trivia question will be the entry. Answers will be received by email to PeachyPathfinder@gmail.com or regert@myyahoo.com. And I will confirm receipt of your email. So that's the first sport of good news. So you guys get your pen and paper ready, because I have the questions outlined already as to what I'm going to do for every month. So all right, and so let's go ahead, and there's something else I want to talk about as well, because last week I mentioned to you that the channel on YouTube also has membership levels. And without going into too much detail, there are 3 levels. First level, the minimum level is $3.99. There's a $6.99 level, and the top tier is $9.99. Very reasonable, I think, compared to a lot of other memberships that I've seen on YouTube. I can't talk this morning. Maybe I need some water. Anyway, just wanted to let you know that early access to the videos will be offered starting in October. Starting October 1st, because I'm starting to upload some behind-the-scenes content. So starting in October, for anybody who's on levels 2 and 3, that's the $6.99 per month level and the $9.99 per month level, they will receive early access to my daily videos 1 week in advance. For those of you who have been tuning in every single day, maybe you want to get the sneak peek, you could do that, because I do my videos so far in advance. I think I'm able to do that. So for those of you who are on levels 2 and 3, which is the $6.99 a month and the $9.99 a month levels, you will get access to my daily videos 1 week in advance. And also there are additional perks as well. There are discounts for my merch line that are available, among other things. So please feel free, if you just want to browse, go to the membership tab of my page and just check out the levels and just do whatever's comfortable for you. And for those of you who are not quite ready to commit to something like that every single month, pardon me, my sinuses are acting up today. Of course, if you're just willing to give out of the kindness of your heart, it's not required. The information is in the description of all of my videos that I post daily. I have CashApp, $PeachyPathfinder. I'm also on Buy Me a Coffee, which is buymeacoffee.com/Regert. And also I have a PayPal, which is under the Peachy Pathfinder. And all donations, please understand, it's not used to line my pockets because I'm a full-time working girl. I can take care of myself. So that all goes to the growth of the channel in regards to upgraded equipment. You know, when I go out and go on my Peachy Pathfinder channel, or when I go out and I do things and go visit places, some of them require admission fees and things like that. So that covers it. Anything in relation to the production of the channel. And that's where that goes. And I think I did post, I'm starting an Amazon wish list, and I think I did include that. If not, I'm going to go ahead and check on that this week. For those of you who can't do money and you just want to send something to help out, I am creating a wish list as well. But I'm not going to be one of these creators that has the little ticker on the bottom of the page on that every time I do a video or anything like that. Not against those people who do, because if it works for them, that's fine, and if their supporters are willing to support them, that's wonderful. But me personally, I don't want to have a whole lot of stuff posted on my videos on my page that could be distracting to the message. So with that being said, I hope you guys consider that. And thank you again for your support. If you just simply want to share the videos or comment, and I've been receiving a lot of comments, and I thank you very much for that. And the fact that we could interact, and understand that if I don't comment, you know, reply to your comment the same day, just give me a couple of days, because I do have this channel and I have Peachy Pathfinder, as well as both Facebook pages and the TikTok. So I'm just trying to keep up, and eventually I'm going to need some help with that. And once I do, I will announce it live. Anyone who's interested in helping out, that would be great once I figure it out, you know, as we grow, of course. So thank you for that. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and get into the message a little bit. And for those of you who are popping in, I do appreciate you doing that. As a matter of fact, let me check something here. Give me just a second. Just a second. I hate to leave you guys here, but anyway. Okay. Alright, that's a little bit better. Okay. Well, anyway, what I'm trying to do too in regards to my TikTok is I'm trying to get that to a certain level where I can do my lives. Now, please understand that my TikTok content is not the same as my Facebook and my YouTube content. It's a different type of content, and I just wanted to let you guys know that. So when I get ready to do my TikTok lives, they are going to be different. So for those of you who are on TikTok as well, you might want to consider doing that. And I'm looking at doing the TikTok lives shortly after I do the Facebook and the YouTube lives. Okay, and the TikTok lives, I do not know how long they're going to be. They may be about 20 or 30 minutes, if that. It just depends on the level of engagement. Okay, so I wanted to give that update as well. And I did mention also that I'm going to be taking a trip in a couple of weeks, so I still will be doing the live on location that Sunday as well. Please keep an eye on my community page as to where I'm going. Not too far from here, but it's a place a lot of people don't think about, and it's a place I haven't been to in a very long time. And I'm looking forward to see how things have changed, and it's been almost 20 years since I've been there. So, you guys gonna come along with me. So anyway, I mentioned that last week I was going to talk about the 5 actual, and I had to write this stuff down, y'all, the 5 actual signs that Spirit has to remind you to set boundaries and to level up and make changes in your life. And some of these are physical, some of these are mental, some of these are emotional, you know. And some of you have experienced this and actually thought that it was just a coincidence. And I mentioned to you before that the older I get, the less I am able to say that I believe in coincidences. I'm less likely to believe in them now because I'm more focused. I see signs and wonders. And I do wonder because I look at the timing of things. So when I see something that occurs after something that's related to it, I'm far from believing that that's a coincidence. I believe that's a sign from spirit. So let's talk about the first one. Now the first one's pretty obvious, and this has happened to me a lot. And as a matter of fact, I might, give a couple of stories in regards to some of these signs that might be very interesting to you guys. If you ever had a sudden disruption in your sleep patterns or your appetite, that's the number one sign that spirit is trying to tell you something, trying to warn you something, trying to maybe get you to slow down, maybe to get you to pay attention to something, maybe to get you, maybe to confirm something that you've been praying about or meditating about. It's an immediate thing. It's a sudden disruption in your appetite, whether it goes up or down. It's something that, or your sleep patterns, where you're used to going to bed at a certain time, or when you do go to bed, you're not sleeping very well, or you're sleeping too hard, or you're sleeping longer than normal. Now, I don't know if you guys are like me. I have a little bit of Native American in my blood, and if you have studied the Native American culture, Native American people are very in tune with nature. And I have Cherokee and Seminole in my blood. So when the seasons change, and the seasons are changing right now, my sleep pattern is a little different. Some days I feel like I'm sleeping with one eye open, and then some days I'm just passed out on another planet like I was last night. And I normally do between 6 and 7 hours per night. I'm great with that. I can get by with 5. It will be a stretch because I'll probably need a little more caffeine, and that's okay. But for the most part, 6 or 7 hours is usually what I do. Well, I notice because of the fluctuations in temperatures and the seasons changing, sometimes I'll only sleep maybe 4 or 5 hours and I'm fine. Sometimes I'll sleep and feel like I'm half awake. Or sometimes I will sleep like last night. I mean, I slept for a while, woke up for an hour and slept some more. So I know I must have done a total of at least 8 or 9 hours yesterday. And those things do happen. Well, that's the change of the seasons, and that's understandable because that happens with animals as well, and we are the highest form of animal. But let's say that you have a situation going on at home or at school or at your job that's really been pressing on you and been asking Spirit to give you a sign, tell you what to do, or maybe you have an idea of what to do, but you're not sure about it. And you're not into, if you're like me, you're not into telling your business to a whole bunch of people because, I was always told if you told somebody what's going on with you, if you tell 10 somebodies, you're going to get 10 different opinions. And you're going to wind up more confused than you was before you even open your mouth. So I try to, if I can speak to someone who's gone through it to give me some wisdom, I will do that. But for the most part, I'll even pray about that. I'll even pray first before I even do that. I'll ask Spirit, should I go to this person and even talk about it? But sometimes Spirit will go ahead and give you the message and give you the answer that you're looking for before you even have to open your mouth to anyone. I'm kind of an internal private person, and I only have a handful of people that I really trust, and they know that. And it's a loyalty thing with me. It really is. It's a loyalty thing. But of course, under the sign of Scorpio, we're all about the loyalty. And for those of you who are Scorpios out there, let me know in the comment too. So the number one sign in regards to any changes that you have to make, boundaries that you have to set, decisions that you have to make, pay attention to your appetite, pay attention to your sleep patterns, because Spirit is either told you something or getting ready to tell you something. Be prepared, okay? That's the number one sign, I would think. And for those of you who have any other signs besides these 5, and these are just the top 5 because there are dozens of them, but these are the most common ones. If you have any other signs, let me know in the comments of either this video or any other video, or email me and let me know. The second one, now this is kind of spooky because this is physical. You're misplacing items. You're misplacing items. And most common items that are misplaced or relocated by spirit. Yeah, I said that. Or things like keys, um, wallets, cell phones, things that are important to your day-to-day that you need to have on your person. And usually those three things are necessary for you to have on your person before you go out into the world, is your wallet, your keys, and your cell phone. And plenty of times I know for a fact that I put something down somewhere and I can't find it. Like for instance, this morning I was looking for something and I still can't find where it is. Now, I know sometimes we'll hide stuff from ourselves because we don't need to deal with it, or for whatever reason we want to put it away in a safe place. And I get that. But in this particular case, you could be getting ready to go somewhere and need that thing and you can't find it. And you know for a fact you put it somewhere. You know you have. And you run around thinking that you're losing your mind and everything else, when in actuality is being moved. Now I know this sounds strange, y'all. I know it does. It does. But I have a cute little story to tell you about this. And if I'm lying, I'm flying and I don't have wings. Okay? In regards to the misplaced items, if they are misplaced, they could, not only are they misplaced, some of them could be malfunctioning. That's the second part of this. An item that you have that is malfunctioning all of a sudden. You changed the batteries, you've connected it to the USB, you've charged it, you've done all these things, you replaced parts and everything else just 5 minutes ago, and the darn thing still won't work. That's another way that you can know the spirit is trying to tell you something. Okay? And I have a little story to tell in regards to that. Now, when I was about 10 years old, and that was around 1979, in spring of 1979, my grandfather passed, and this is my mother's father. He had brain cancer, and eventually it got to the point where it just taken over, and you know, with brain cancer, it's a serious deal. And they had sent him back home to live with my grandmother because basically it's not much more that they could do, is just wait. Been in and out of hospitals and everything. And now this was a story my grandmother told me. Now my grandmother's house was a small house. It was built for her by my grandfather. He bought the land first and he built it. It was made of cinder blocks. And it was just 2 bedrooms and 1 bath. Because it was just the 2 of them. You know, kids were grown. It was just the 2 of them. But the way it was set up, it was a long house where when you come in the door, and then a lot of houses aren't built this way anymore, but a lot of the smaller houses back in the day was where you just had this long house that just took you through the whole, the long hallway took you from the front door to the back door, and the entire span of the house, and then you had rooms to the side. Living room would be on one, on a certain side, and then the bedrooms would be, so far and so forth. So in the back of the house, before you got to the back, that's where the kitchen was, and the kitchen was huge. And then you had the bathroom next to the kitchen, and then you would just go out the back door, and then you had this big, huge, big, huge porch area. And then you went down the porch, and then you had the big, huge yard. And my grandmother, of course, she had a chicken coop and a garden and a clothesline. She even had a water pump, because when they first moved in, they didn't have indoor plumbing. So she had a water pump. And so my grandfather, according to what my grandmother told me, my grandfather was in the kitchen, sitting at the table, reading the Bible. Now, my grandfather believed in God, but he was not a Bible thumper. He wasn't into reading the Bible. He believed in God, but he was a self-made man from the country. They were both from the country, up from Scriven County. He was from Girard, Georgia. She was from Sylvania, Georgia, which wasn't too far away. And they were both self-made people. So they had a very rudimentary belief in God. But they weren't ones to be sitting up there beating people over the head with the Bible every day. My grandmother read her scriptures every day, but he didn't. He was a self-made man, big man, very tall. I want to say he was about between 6'2" and 6'4", my grandfather was. Mr. Hardy was pretty big. And the brain cancer, it just had him coming and going. So I guess he was at that point now. He probably reverted to the mind of a child, I was thinking at that point. So he was sitting up there reading the Bible, or maybe trying to read the Bible to try to get his brain to function. We don't know. We don't know, because this happened so many years ago. And my grandmother was in the, near the front door, near the living room. In the living room, when you first came into the house, that was the first big room you saw on the left. So that was in the front of the house. And she had this rocking chair, like a lazy boy swivel rocker situation going on. And, but she got swivel rocker later. But anyway, she had a chair she always kept by the door. And of course she had a screen door, but she would open the main door. She always let the sunlight in the house, so it could go the whole span of the house. And I think she was reading the paper or something based on what she told me, and all of a sudden she heard something go boom on the floor. Now understand, I told you a few minutes ago that my grandfather built this house. Well, when he built the floor, it wasn't anything that was soft. It had a concrete foundation, but it had tiles on it, but the tiles weren't very thick. So the bottom line was this: if you went back in that kitchen and you fell down and hurt yourself on that floor, you were going to have a bruise. No doubt about it. And if you fall too hard, you were going to break something. So he was sitting at the kitchen table reading the Bible according to my grandmother, and my grandmother all of a sudden heard something go boom, and she said she froze because she knew something was very wrong. So my grandfather used to tinker around the house, but his tinkering days were over basically. She knew he wasn't tinkering and something wasn't right. And she called out his name and he wouldn't say anything. And then that's when she found out that he fell out on the floor backwards on the floor. And, he was slipping away at that point. So by the time they got him to the hospital, I don't know how long it wasn't long, but he was pronounced dead. So that was in 1979, and my grandmother stayed alone for a while. So a few years passed, and eventually she had a friend. And the friend wound up living in the house with her, and they got together, and his name was Jackie. We called him Jackie, but his name was Robert Lee. And Mr. Robert Lee, very nice man. His daughter used to come by the house all the time. She became friends with the family and everything, and we were cool with that. It was good to know that grandmother wasn't by herself, and that she cared about someone. But Mr. Robert Lee failed to tell my grandmother that he had lung cancer, and she didn't know that he was sick. So I don't think he was with her, I want to say, not even a few years. It's hard to remember because I was young. So we're talking about from 1981 until I got in high school. And in 1981 I was in junior high, so it couldn't have been no more than a few years, if that. And he had the cancer. Well, around that time, for those of you who are around, it came up with the digital watches. And the digital watches with the little face and everything else. Up until then, we had the analog watches with the hands. And everybody was buying those digital watches. I had one, my mama had one, my daddy one. And see, I was the kind of kid, I mentioned to you before that I was a nerd. So I used to like to tinker with things. So anytime that something needed to be fixed, on a small level, even though I was a little kid, maybe about 12 or 13 years old, my grandmother would always call me and say, fix it. The first time that she got a microwave, she didn't know how to program it. She asked me to fix it. When she changed over from a rotary dial phone to a push button phone, she wasn't sure how to plug it into the wall, that type of thing. I fixed it. So when Mr. Robert Lee came to live with her, I think his daughter gave him the watch. Don't get me the line, y'all. But anyway, he got a LED watch, and he didn't know how to program it. And he called me, and called my mother and said, bring her by so she can fix this watch. And so, you guys know about daylight savings time. Well, back then, everything wasn't computerized where everything would automatically revert to the time. Like, for instance, when we had daylight savings time on our phone, we don't have to adjust our phone because it automatically goes up to the satellite, and the satellite automatically programs it. Some people still have microwaves where they have to program the microwave, but for the most part, if you have a computer or a cell phone or a cable box or anything like that that is connected to a that's connected to a satellite, you don't have to manually change things. Well, back then we didn't have the World Wide Web and all that in the early 80s. So all of the watches had to be changed and all of the, and everything else. And because it was LED and he wasn't sure what to do, he asked my mother to bring me by. And I spent a ton of time at my grandmother's house anyway, and they were less than 10 minutes away, and to fix his watch, and I did. So after several trips with my mother and my grandmother, taking him to the doctor over a period of time, and then finally, it's to the point where they couldn't do much of anything. Of course, Mr. Robert Lee winds up coming back to the house. There's not much more they can do. And my grandmother just resigned herself to the fact that, okay, this man's going to die too. So my grandmother's a real trooper to go through this thing twice. But hey, that is life. We go through these things. So the last time that he had to go into the hospital, I don't know what prompted him to go into the hospital. I do not remember. But he had to wind up going into the hospital, but he didn't take his watch with him. He told my mother to give the watch to me, I believe. Yes, my mother or my father, to give the watch to me before he went to the hospital, which tells me, now that I think about it, that he knew he wasn't coming out. He said, give it to her. And so I took the watch. And so I'm thinking, okay, well, I'm just going to hold it until he gets out, blah, 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 because, he used his watch when he went out because he needed his watch. So when he was at home, he didn't have the watch on. So me being a kid, not thinking about death and how people process it, I'm thinking to myself, okay, well, he's going into the hospital again, which was like the third or fourth time. And I said, well, when he comes out, I'll just make sure it's programmed. It's got new batteries, because we had to go buy batteries at the store, the little round LED batteries that you put inside the watch. I had to do that. And I distinctly remember that there was fresh batteries in the watch, and the watch was maybe not even a year old. So we didn't have any problems with it or anything. And not long after he got admitted into the hospital one Saturday morning, my mother was on the phone. And funny thing about my mother would walk up and down the hallway when she was talking on the phone. We didn't have a cordless phone, but we did have one of those 50-foot cords. Excuse me, Spirit. And so I had a phone in my room, and then my mother had a phone in her room, and parents had a phone in their room, and then there was a phone in the kitchen, and all of them had these long cords, so that way when you take the phone, you could walk all over the house. That was high technology back then, y'all. That was before cordless phones came out. So my mother was walking up and down the hallway early on Saturday morning. I want to say it was about 7 or 7:30. And she's talking and talking and talking. And I'm saying to myself, what is she talking about? So finally I got up, and she hung up the phone, and she knocked on my door. And 'cause I guess she heard me moving around. And she said, well, I got some news to tell you. She said, Jackie passed. A hospital called Mama, which is my grandmama, and said that Jackie passed. Now that was around, I want to say that was around between 7:20 and 7:30 in the morning. Well, my room was situated where I had the bed, and at the foot of the bed, up against the wall at the foot of the bed, was my dresser drawer with the mirror, okay, that matched the bed. And that's where I put all my jewelry. And I had Mr. Roberts, I had Jackie's watch right there on the dresser. I put it there, just left it there, and I would check it every day, make sure it's okay and everything, because I was prepared to give it to him when he got out of the hospital. That was our thing, Some of you have a thing with the elder, little things like that you do. So when she said he passed, I had my moment where I shed a little tears and everything. And all of a sudden something told me after a while, look at the watch. Now, here it is, like maybe an hour or so passed, because, she was like, let's get dressed, we're going to go over to your grandmama's house because she was there by herself, of course. My uncle wasn't in town at the time. He was living out of town, my mother's brother. So she wanted us to hurry up and get ready. So I went and got ready, put my clothes on and everything. And then it was like maybe about 30, 45 minutes, ate something a little quick. And I went into the room before I got ready to go. And something said, look at that watch. Here it is about maybe 8 something, something to 9. I look at the watch and the watch is frozen. It's like, it's saying 7 something, 7:20 something. And I want to say it was 7:23 or 7:28. I can't remember. Don't get me the line, y'all. We talking about 40 years ago, almost 40 years ago. So I'm doing my best here. And the watch was, wasn't moving. And if any of you know about LED watches, the display is kind of like a microwave. You have that little colon sign between the hour and the minute that flashes. It was the same way on an LED watch. So when you looked at the face of an LED watch, when you saw that colon number flashing, that colon sign flashing, that was the seconds being counted. So once it did that 60 times, and you would see the minute change. Okay, just like a microwave would. Okay. Well, the colon sign wasn't flashing. It was frozen in time. And I said to myself, well, what's going on here? I said, we just got the battery and everything else. And I said to myself, well, I'll fix it when I get back. Didn't think anything of it. We did whatever it is we need to do that day. And don't get me the line as to how that went, because it kind of became a bit of a blur. And a funny thing with me is when it comes to dealing with death and having to help people, and having to deal with people with death and death situations, sometimes, some things are just a big blur to me. So came back later on, I want to say maybe 1 or 2 o'clock that afternoon, and I look at the watch again, so I shook it, nothing. I said, well, darn, I got some bum batteries from the Eckerd store. Now, for those of you who don't know, there was a drugstore back in the day called Eckerd, E-C-K-E-R-D. It was a chain of stores just like Walgreens, and we used to go to the Eckerd and get a lot of our things because they had everything there. And I said to myself, well, gosh, maybe I got some bum batteries in here. Me not thinking, I was maybe about like 12, maybe 12, 13. And so I went ahead and took the batteries out. And the pack of batteries I had was a multi-pack. So I said, well, let me take these batteries out and put in some new ones. So I put in the new batteries. And I put the back on the watch, and it just didn't work. So I took those batteries out, and I put some other batteries in. It still didn't work. Now, y'all, if I'm lying, I'm flying. I'm telling the truth here. And a lot of my family members that are alive right now probably don't even know about experience because I hadn't talked about it much. They may remember, they may not. But anyway, so after the 3rd time, I asked my father, I said, Daddy, come look at this watch. He said, the watch? He said, well, it's broke. My father was a character, okay? Don't get me wrong, he's a very sensitive man. That seems insensitive for him to say. But he was very matter-of-factly sometimes. When he sees something, he just called it how it was. And he looked at it and he said, it's broke. And I was like, Daddy, it shouldn't be broke. I said, because Jackie gave me this a few weeks ago, or whatever time it was, before he went to the hospital, so I could hold on to it before he left. And welcome to the person who came in. Story time a little bit here. I said, but I just put the batteries in last week. I said, because we went to the Eckerd and got the batteries. He said, yeah, I remember that. We got a 6-pack of batteries. I said, well, I've just changed out the batteries. I said, look at the time on the thing, Daddy. I said, the thing won't work. He said, well, did you? I said, it's programmed fine. And I said, I pressed all the buttons to get it activated, because if you ever had an LED watch, you had all these buttons that you had to press to change the hour and the minute, and to change this and to change that, to change the date, because the LED watch, you had the time and the date on it. You had to fix that. And then you had to press another button to reset and press another button to get it to start. It had like 4 or 5 buttons on this. It had like 2 buttons on one side of the watch face and 3 buttons on the other side, and I knew every single one of them buttons what they were supposed to do. I said, Daddy, this thing is not working. And he said, let me look at the watch. Well, we had a place called Crazy Jack's Records. Okay? And for those of you who don't know about it, we had a record stores. This was before the cassette craze and the CDs and the MP3s and all that. There was a chain of stores, a local chain of stores called Crazy Jack's. And Crazy Jack's was the bomb because Crazy Jack was a hustler. Crazy Jack not only had the record store, he also had a shoe repair place, and he also had jewelry repair. And sometimes all those places would be in one location. So Daddy said, well, give me the watch. I'll take it over to Crazy Jack's and see if they can take a look at it and see what's going on. I'm like, okay. So the next day was church and whatnot, and then Monday rolled around. I come home from school, and I guess my dad had taken, I don't know when he took the watch, but anyway, long story short, he took the watch to Crazy Jack's and came back and told me, he said, well, the watch is dead. And nothing they could do. I said, Daddy, this watch is only a year old. What are you talking about? He said, wait a minute. Hold on a second. And then he sat there and he always had this look where he'd do his chin and he kind of looked down a little bit. And he's like, looking down at the ground. And I'm sitting there looking at him. He's like, He said, oh. I said, Daddy, what is it? He said, I don't believe this. Then he went in the room and told my mama something. Then he came back to me and he said, look, baby, he said, this watch ain't gonna work no more. We're making preparation for Jackie's, funeral and everything. I don't recall going to the funeral. I think I stayed at my grandmother's, waited for her to come back. I didn't go to the funeral. He said, this is not going to work anymore. So he said, what do you want me to do with it? And I'll be honest with you, I don't know what happened to that watch since then. I think I held on to it as long as I could, and I think I eventually left it with Dad. And he probably held on to it as a memento as long as he could. My father just passed away 5 years ago, so we're talking about something that happened over close to 40 years ago, over 40 years ago, because this was in, I'm going to say 82 or 83 when he passed, because he didn't stay, him and my grandmother weren't living together very long before he, got really, really sick with cancer and died. But that, now that I think about it, is because when he looked at the watch face before he started thinking. And remember, I told you my father was a Southern Baptist preacher that was ordained, so he had a spiritual side to him. And he never ignored signs and wonders, and that was a clear sign right there. The fact that I had asked Mama later on that week, I said, it was around what time in the morning that Jackie died? And she said 7:20 something or another. That was the same time that the watch stopped working. Ooh, yeah. I know I had to do that, y'all. I know I'm smart. I'm a smart aleck, but that's another sign that Spirit was trying to tell us something. See, he was so cut. I look at it like this, and this is just my interpretation. You guys can put it in a comment if you want to, but it's very humid in here, y'all. That's why I kept my nose. My nose is sensitive to that. That's another sign that Spirit is trying, that could be, Spirit could be doing that as a sign to, a malfunctioning piece of machinery or something like that. That could be a sign from Spirit that there are other spirits present. Someone's getting ready to pass over. Someone's getting ready to be born. It could be a number of things. So it's a message from the beyond in a lot of cases. Now, don't get me wrong. Every single time you lose something doesn't mean the Spirit is talking to you. Maybe you just got a messy ass house and need to clean it up, and that's why you're losing stuff. Just simple common sense things. But if it's something that's out of the ordinary, where it's commonplace items that you're used to dealing with, you're used to putting in a certain place, and they're not there all of a sudden, or certain items that you deal with normally are not functioning and you can't fix them or get them to function the way they normally do, no matter what you do, that could be a sign from spirit that a message is being sent. That's number 2. So I kind of hope you enjoy that story. And like I get, share in the comments and let me know if you had an experience similar to that. That was one of my few supernatural experiences that I've had with spirits when I was young. And I had quite a few, and I'll be sharing those as we do lives from time to time. But the third one is kind of ties into what I said about items shifting on their own in your living space. Now, it's not this stuff that you see on TV where you see stuff flying around like in Poltergeist or anything like that. It's just that you know you put your wallet on the left nightstand and you woke up the next morning it's on the right nightstand. You know, little things like that. It's not where, you know, it's anything that's cinematic. Or it could be something just moving a centimeter, where you put something on a counter and you know it's like right next to the salt shaker, and then you go do something, excuse me, you do something, come back 20 minutes later, it's shifted, you know, it's just a little bit, it's not as close to the salt shaker anymore. And a lot of times that happens, and this is just my take on it, when items start shifting in their own, that means there's some serious spirit activity going on in your space. And I'm not saying this to scare people or anything, but I mean, we have another dimension besides the one that we're in, whether you choose to believe it or not. And these are some signs the spirit is letting you know of that. Number 4, this is another physical one that you guys have probably encountered as well. Heightened senses. Your senses are heightened. All of a sudden you can smell everything. All of a sudden you can hear everything. All of a sudden your taste buds, what you normally eat, does taste different. Now, barring a physical condition, now if you have a head cold or a virus or the flu or you're under some medication, that's different because your senses are going to be different, especially your senses of taste and smell. If you're on medication or if you have a condition, that's understandable. But let's just say under normal circumstances, out of the blue, there have been times where I would just be going along. I could be at work, and and I have a desk job, but I do customer service, and all of a sudden, out of the blue, I would smell smoke. Just for a second. Now, it doesn't last long when these things happen. Understand this. This is why we need to be in tune with ourselves, in tune with our bodies, so when anything out of the ordinary occurs, we have to be aware of it. And that's where, prayer and meditation comes in. I'll smell smoke. And then I'll find out, and it might be a situation where it's not related to me. It might be something that happened on the news, where all of a sudden I look at the news that evening and find out somebody's house burned down. Or I might come home and find out that a friend of mine said, find out that my roommate has something wrong with the car. Or a family member might call me on the phone and say, oh, so-and-so was in an accident. Something like that. Something in relation to fire or smoke. Or it could be something as simple as the temperature is going to drop so low tonight that we have to start a fire in the fireplace. But it's usually some kind of warning. So when you have your senses heightened, that's another message from Spirit that's kind of like a warning, trying to tell you, beware of upcoming events as to what's going on. Okay? And the last thing, like I said, this is related to, this is something not to be misconstrued with being on medication or having an illness. It's sudden fluctuations in your body temperature. Now, I'm going through a stage in life where a lot of women complain of hot flashes and things like that, but because I use a lot of herbs in my diet, I don't suffer from those anymore. There are certain things that you can do. You can change your diet. You can you can start incorporating certain herbs in your diet. Make sure you have a good sleep pattern and drink more fluids. That usually helps a lot too. And I'm going through a stage in my life where a lot of women are experiencing hot flashes and night sweats, and I haven't had to deal with that since, in the past 8 years, since I started going through these changes. So, because I took on, And that was something that my grandmother taught me, because when I was taught the facts of life, I just wasn't taught about the birds and the bees. I was taught about the different stages that I'm going to go through in life as a woman. So they taught me about menstrual cycles and childbirth and what you're going to deal with and what you're going to deal with when you can't have children anymore, you know, through menopause and things like that. They told me everything. Everything. So by the time I got ready to take biology class in high school and they started exploring the human body, I already knew this stuff. Because when I was in junior high, my mother and my grandmother, they not only they talked to me, they gave me books that I could read, you know, to learn more about myself as a person. And that was very helpful. So, needless to say, I would sit in biology class and zone out and make A's because I already knew this stuff. And thanks to my parents. So, sudden fluctuation in body temperature, you could just be sitting somewhere, normally healthy, everything's fine. Temperature's great where you are, and then all of a sudden you just feel this warmth all over you. Feel like somebody just poured hot water all over you. Or you can feel sudden chills. Chills are more common than the heat. People will feel like all of a sudden, or maybe feel like somebody's touched your shoulder, or you just feel all of a sudden this sudden chill, like somebody put ice on your skin. And it would be very, very brief. But it's just spirit world is reaching out to you to try to tell you something. It's their form of communication giving you these signs. So those are the 5 signs, so let me go over them briefly. The first one is disruption in sleep or appetite, in your sleep or appetite patterns. That's the first one. The second one is misplaced or malfunctioning items. The third one is items shifting on their own in their space, you know, a slight shift. The fourth one is your heightened senses, one of the 5 senses. The most common ones is smell, hearing, and taste. Sometimes touch, but the top 3 is usually a heightened sense of smell, taste, or hearing. And the last one, the 5th one, is sudden fluctuation in body temperature. And a lot of these signs are very fleeting. They only last a few seconds, and sometimes if you're caught up in other things and multitasking, you won't even acknowledge them. But then you'll notice a little bit later on when that thing occurs, or when that event occurs, or when that person comes to you, or whatever it is, then you'll tie that back to the fact, oh, you know what, the other day I had a feeling that such and such and such and such and such was going to happen, and look at this. So it kind of prepares you for the change that's going to come. And for some of you, you might have to set boundaries in regards to certain things. Some of you might have to change your job, change your residence, change the people. You might have to make some changes in your life. Or there might be a sudden surprise. Whether it's negative or positive, it's going to be a sudden surprise. But in either way, something is going to have to adjust. And Spirit is kind of letting you know this is what needs to be done. So I kind of hope that helps you guys. We've been at this for close to an hour now. I hope you enjoyed the story. There are quite a few to come. Next week, let me see what I got on the calendar for you guys. Just a second to take a look, because I actually have an itinerary for y'all. Okay, next week what I'm going to do is this week's videos, please play. This week's video starting today, please pay close attention to them, because I'm going to do a weekly recap of those videos next week on Sunday. Look like we're going to be here the same time, 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. I may do it live that evening, so watch my community posts. And for those of you, like I said, get your pencils and your pens sharpened, because on the 15th we are launching the giveaway, and I will be discussing all the details in the giveaway. The video is going to post that morning as well, on the morning of the 15th, outlining everything. I thank you all for coming in. I really appreciate it. And again, I thank you for your support as we grow. And again, if you want to reach out to me, have any questions, PeachyPathfinder@gmail.com, regert@myyahoo.com. And again, I offer you all peace, prosperity, Lord Spirit. I've got too much going on in my head, y'all. Anyway, I offer you all peace, prosperity, protection, and power. Okay? Have a great day.